guys, Toby with Birdsong Studios. How are we doing today? I hope you all are well. Thank you so much for joining me here on the channel. I greatly appreciate your time, your attention, and your openness to these messages. So, we are looking at, in this reading, we'll be looking at the energies for the week of May the 15th through the 22nd. This will be the shadow period for Mercury retrograde as it goes direct on May the 14th. Mercury is, the retrograde is affecting my tongue, so I apologize for not being able to speak. So yes, the retrograde ends on the 14th. Then there will be a shadow period for about 10 days. Mercury is in Taurus, so that it's going to be a very Taurian week. We have Mercury in Taurus, we have the Sun in Taurus, we have Jupiter moving from Aries to the sign of Taurus on the 16th, and then we have a new moon in Taurus on May the 19th. Of course, at the end of our week here on the 21st, the Sun will be moving into Gemini. But there seems to be a real focus on this Taurian energy during this time frame. And we have Hearth, Comfort, and the card number 11. Yeah, that's that Taurian energy, isn't it? Your safe place is what I'm hearing. What brings you comfort? What brings you pleasure in this with that sense of security and safety and softness and being held. It's a very grounded, as you can see there, both the baby and the dog are very low to the ground and reclined, and it's the warmth of the fire. That's so Taurian. So I get a sense that this is definitely a week to allow yourself to be in that energy, to be comforted and held by those who bring you a sense of loyalty and support, as well as offering the same to others around you. That there's this deep sense of trust here. And so, and we have the soul and passion. Oh, wow. Give me just a second. The butterflies are reminding me of this Scorpio eclipse that we just passed through, and then we are still kind of integrating in. And there's this balance here of the water and the earth energy, with the tears flowing out like waterfalls, and the trees and the grass as forming the eyelashes and the eyelid of this eye. And the eye is, we have all four elements here, because the eye is the globe, it's Mother Earth, and then we have the sky in the whites of the eye, and then around the eye. Wow, that's really beautiful. So, okay, the new moon is a time of setting intentions, right? And we've talked about how we've moved into this new cycle, and I feel like we're kind of in this in-between place here. Honestly, I've tried to do this reading for you guys like 3 times now, and it feels and just as my words are now, there gets to a point where things just kind of seem to come to a halt. So I feel like at this week we're going to have this point. We're going to have this point where things just kind of seem to go silent, is what I'm hearing. And it could be all the grounded energy. It could be the movement of Jupiter into Taurus, coming from the fire sign and the go, go, go of Aries and the intensity of Aries, to the intensity of Taurus, but the intense groundedness of Taurus. And that can almost feel like someone slamming the brakes is what I'm getting. So in that, it's important for us to go within and look to our soul for what uplifts it and what brings a sense of passion, because that's what's going to keep us going and motivated, right? And there is certainly this that's where we find the comfort, and we can certainly find comfort in this Taurean energy as well, and it will bring this sense of balance to the fiery action intensity of Aries, of Jupiter in Aries. This feels like a very Jupiterian reading. So maybe that's what we're talking about, is Jupiter moving into Taurus. Jupiter is about expansion and amplification. And so it can almost, it can go from one extreme to the other, and I get this definite sense of allowing for the scales to balance out here between that fire energy and that earth energy, and to not be knocked off your course, to not be distracted from the momentum of the Jupiter in Aries, and just allow the Taurean energy to kind of allow the two to move together. The Aries energy, I feel, is going to diminish a little bit, but as the Taurean energy rises, allow it to balance out rather than overtake. And this is going to bring a sense of groundedness to these projects we've been working so hard on, to the goals that we have been working to manifest. But it needs to, as this process is occurring, what is lighting up your soul? And that's what's going to allow you to move out of this overly grounded state, which becomes a bit of I just feel the brakes being put on repeatedly. So instead of this groundedness bringing things to your momentum to a halt, allow it to integrate in so that you are working at a comfortable pace, balancing the relationships as well in your life that bring you comfort and stability, where there's a sense of trust and loyalty. But recognizing that that doesn't mean we come to a stop, and that it's from this really grounded place that we'll be able to set intentions for this new moon cycle that balance out all aspects of our being and all aspects of our life as we're moving forward. And this is part of the transformation process that's happened with the Scorpio moon, is recognizing our imbalances, and recognizing too what truly does bring us comfort, what truly does light our passion and uplift our soul for us as individuals, not based on anyone else's judgments or beliefs or opinions even. And you're so, look at all the orbs in this picture. They're so protected by spirit, and there's, just as I talked about, or we talked about in the over the weekend message, there's this sense of the importance of the connection to the divine, to your guides, a sense of gratitude for their, oh, and I'm getting very emotional, a sense of gratitude for their guidance and their support all along this path, and how you've been comforted in the most difficult times, how you've had them to lean on even in the most difficult times. Okay. All right, so let's go to the Life Soul Vision Oracle and see what else. We have the Spirit Lion coming out here and portals of possibility. I believe Mars is moving into Leo on the 20th or the 21st. Okay, so let's see, what else do we need to know about the week of May the 15th through the 22nd? I feel everything's, yeah, I feel definitely feeling that groundedness, but there's also that softness and gentleness that comes with it as well. So maybe feeling into that, instead of feeling it as a break, feeling it as a gentleness that's moving in to your experience, and a more gentle energy. And I think that'll be a bit of a nice reprieve after the the transformational energy of Scorpio. And it is also, for those of you feeling a need for a break, it's an invitation to maybe look at how you're scheduling things, look at your work-life balance, look at making sure that how you're spending your time is in alignment with what your priorities are. Energy conversations. Yeah, that card number 38. So we have two 11s here. And there's an eclipse. Well, it's a ring of light, which is like the annular eclipse. And I think this is definitely speaking to what we were talking about that balance. And also, hang on just a second, I'm getting something else here. Yeah, that's exactly what I was feeling. Okay. We talked about your connection to the divine and being, and your guides, and being very aware of how they have held you and protected you, and gratitude for that. But there's also this sense of ancestral protection here too. Give me just a second. Card number 55. So we have 2 5s. That's really interesting. This card is card 14, so that's a 5. Then we have 2 5s here. This is card 38, which is 11, and this is 11. There is 5 is the number of change, and there is this sense of, we talked about those you can trust, right? Where you feel a sense of loyalty. And there is also this sense of things have been there have been transformations in relationships, and so I get the energy of people, situations, environments that have been washed out of this new cycle of your life. It's almost like a cleansing away. And so if you find that you are not feeling energetically connected to those relationships or environments anymore, it's because because of the changes that you've experienced energetically, they're not in alignment with you, especially going forward. But when that occurs, of course, it also is making room for these new connections to come in. And I know we talked about this not too long ago. This is a very big theme too, of allowing in your soul tribe and these soul connections, and being very aware of how they speak to you energetically and how they speak to your soul. And so through this time with Jupiter entering into Taurus, there is, and this feels like an expansion in your home base, an expansion of your soul family. And that's certainly what we have indicated here in the gathering with these strands of DNA and the figures linked arm in arm. And there are waves of ancestral links here, lifetimes of connection. But it does go back to, where do you feel a sense of trust, a sense of bonding, a sense of loyalty? And it might be an almost instantaneous recognition because it's on an energetic level, because these conversations, these connections, these bonds have been brought forth from prior lifetimes across galaxies, I'm hearing. That's a really, really beautiful energy. It's really important to recognize and to allow yourself this space and time to listen to your energy body and listen to how you're responding physically and to these new interactions, because that's what's going to be the signifier for you as to who's in alignment with you and who is not. And there's this, with the waterfall and the tears, there's also a sense of grieving. And even if you are very much aware and awake to the fact that maybe some connections just are no longer in alignment with you, the allowing oneself the time to grieve as well. And I get this strongly for this week too, that because there's going to be a recognition of the moving away from certain connections, that to give yourself that space to process the emotions associated with that without judging yourself. And it doesn't mean you're any less dedicated to your path forward. It's just it's an honoring of the love that was associated with that relationship, and also honoring that the love for that can still continue even if that person is no longer in your life or that environment is no longer in your life. The love endures, the love can be infinite. However, if they are no longer in alignment with you, then there is a need to release them, to allow those who are in alignment with you to enter into your life, to continue with you on this part of your journey, this next part of your journey. It's really beautiful. Okay, let's look at some tarot real quick to see if there's anything else. I get, I'm being asked to look at external influences to this because we've talked very much about your internal experience, so I'm being guided to, let's look at external influences that may arise this coming week for you. May the 15th through the 22nd. Oh, my fingers don't want to work. All right, let's see what we have. External influences, please. Well, we have the Devil in reverse. I feel like that should be upright. And I read the cards intuitively, so sometimes they come out upright and the message that comes through is the reversed meaning, but for this one, it feels like it should be upright. Yeah, that's kind of the sense I was getting, and that's why I felt that as I was being called to look at external influences, because I feel this sense of externally. Ooh, I'm sorry for that loud airplane. Oh yeah, let's see it. I was kind of expecting the Seven of Wands to come out. So, as you're moving out of these environments or being guided to move out of these environments, you may very well have to feel like you need to defend yourself, as indicated in the Seven of Wands. Defend your position, defend your beliefs. And there is this, there's this dual meaning with it, or dual message for today, that yes, you do need to make sure that you are prioritizing and taking care of your energetic experience. Making sure that you have solid boundaries in place, making sure that you are prioritizing your needs, and being very discerning about where you expend your energy and even which areas you are moving into, which environments you move into. However, the flip side of that is you don't need to explain yourself. This came up in a reading for somebody recently. You don't need to explain yourself. And I'm almost getting this sense, because you have the Nine of Wands here, which is the wounded warrior energy. This is someone who has been through some battles. They have the scars to prove it. And it's been it's Moon in Sagittarius. I'm being drawn to that, which will happen in Gemini season. Anyway, look, Mercury in Leo. Didn't we talk about that? Mercury is moving into Leo on May the 21st, I think. So you may find situations where there are people confronting you almost, and you're put in position where if you are triggered into this devil energy, this energy of feeling bound or restrained or caged by something, you may be pushed into, not pushed, let me be very specific. You may be triggered so that you feel you need to express your reasons for these changes you've made. However, and part of that is the I almost get this sense of exhaustion with the Nine of Wands, and when we're in that depleted state, we are more likely to be triggered and to react, not necessarily just to be triggered, because we can be triggered at any time, but to react from that place of the trigger and not respond from our place of healing or the healed place within us. And the invitation here is to pause. It's oftentimes, most of the time, is to pause. It's really to respond from the healed place within you. Do not respond from this depleted place. Do not respond from someone who feels like they need to take up arms immediately because they have a history of wounds and battles that have you had to fight. It was there's a sense of I can't think of the word. Survival. That's not the space you're in right now. That for maybe this reading doesn't resonate for you because I'm just hearing, but I feel like I'm still in survival mode. I'm really getting a sense that if that thought crossed your mind, that maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit. But, okay, moving on from that. Recognizing that you do not have to express your reasons for why you're making these changes, for why you are moving out of certain environments, for why you're no longer participating in certain things, for why you don't feel connected. Now, certainly there's, if we're talking about major relationships in our life, it's best to attempt to have a conversation. But if you've had the conversation, you don't have to keep having the conversation. You don't have to justify why you feel a certain way. There's a difference between having a conversation about how you feel and then justifying it, especially repeatedly. And that's the energy I'm getting with the Seven of Wands. That's not needed. And what that does is that just reconnects you, and it draws down to that person, place, or thing, and or situation, and it depletes your energy even further. It connects you even further, which leads to the devil energy, making you feel bound and constricted and chained, when in fact that is an illusion. So, okay, let's do one more and let's find out what the advice is. Well, I mean, we've kind of already said that, but all right. We'll do one more and see if we get advice. But really the advice is to pause and not to respond from that triggered, wounded place. It's to recognize how far you've come and to respond from that what you've learned and what you now know by using the tools that you have gained, the skills you've gained. Ooh, that was a very loud shuffle. Whoops, and I dropped one. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's try one more time. I just keep hearing you do not have to justify why you're making these choices that are best for you, because you're doing it from a place of love, from a place of centeredness, from a place of alignment with your higher self. But people, it's very much relationship oriented, because I keep wanting to say people. But there may be those who don't understand that they are not necessarily in energetic alignment with you, which is why they're not understanding. That does not mean that you need to try to lift them up to where you are, because that's not possible. And at the same time, you don't need to, I shouldn't say you don't need to, but you're being guided to remain in that higher frequency, that higher vibrational state, and recognize that you don't have to justify your whys. You don't have to justify your reasons. Yeah, that wounded warrior is an indication of maybe the unhealed version of you that was the past, but that's not your story anymore. Look, there it is, the Fool, the new beginning. Allowing yourself to be in this new energy. The new energy you've created. You have worked and dedicated and focused yourself to be in this new place. And we're going to put this right in the middle. So allow yourself to really embrace it. And yes, there may be temptations here. See how this flower that looks like this beautiful flower is actually the tail of this alligator. But she's standing upon it. She has, she's victorious over it, is what I'm hearing. So, you're being guided to not be tempted back into the old cycle. Let's do one more. But to stay, to keep moving forward, because you're right at this, you've just stepped into this new beginning, and there's a very, here's the other part of this. You know, we talked about the new moon coming up on the 19th, and the importance of your energy as you're setting these intentions, right? Did we talk about that? If we didn't, I'm going to talk about it now, quickly. Your energy in setting intentions is actually what creates the manifestation. It's if you're too, because oftentimes the manifestation comes through as in a different shape, form, or figure than what you may have imagined or envisioned when doing the intention, when setting the intention. So if we're allowing ourselves to be back in this wounded state, to be back in a state of being held captive by the illusion of the devil, by, I get a sense of judgment and restriction more than anything from this devil, and from pleasing others, in particular with this Seven of Wands, feeling like you're walking on eggshells, feeling like you have to defend yourself at all costs, at all times. If you're in that energy, then that's the energy that you are, no matter what words you're saying or writing for your intention, if you're in that energy when you're setting those intentions, that's the energy that goes with those intentions. That's the energy the universe hears. And then that's what is sent back. So it's there's a huge reminder here to be very, very clear with the intentions you're setting as you're moving forward. Not just the intentions though, the energy. That's the most important thing. If you're in a lower energetic state, if you're feeling like you have to defend yourself, if you're feeling depleted and exhausted from these battles, if you're feeling restricted, that is not the time to be setting intentions. Okay, one more. Use your tools, use what you've learned. You have sovereignty, I'm hearing, and you have, what's that other word? What was that? You have mastery, an understanding of how to transmute that energy. And so you are being very much guided to make use of those tools and those skills during this week if you find yourself confronted with these situations. Yeah, the Nine of Cups. All right, I said it would just be one more, but interesting. Because I'm also almost getting from this Nine of Cups a sense of yeah, I'm almost getting from this Nine of Cups somehow from the external forces this sense of false hope. Because it's not the 10. And I was really drawn to that when I pulled it. And then we have the Three of Wands, which is kind of waiting for your ships to come in. So again, which is this sense of false hope. Like, no, not always. It's not always. But today, in this message for this week, for the 15th through the 22nd, I'm feeling very much this sense of discernment is really, really key. What is truly in line? Okay. What is truly in line with your soul? What really uplifts your soul in this state of passion and motivation and joy and bliss? And it's so important to be aware of these energetic conversations that are going on constantly between, not only between you and your higher self and the opportunity to interact in these conversations, to ask for guidance along this way, but also the recognition that these energetic conversations are going on constantly between us and everything that we interact with. And I'm also getting this sense of, so being very aware of that, being very, going back to the energetic conversations, being very aware of how you're feeling in a particular moment. And I get this sense of almost someone coming in and offering you something that gives you this sense of false hope. It's not the Ten of Cups. It's not a full sense of joy and emotional contentment and satisfaction, but it's almost like it's almost what you're wanting. It's almost what you've dreamt of, but you can feel in it that there's this sense of waiting. So the question is then, is that how you want to start out this new path? Is that the temptation there on the end of the alligator's tail? Is that possibly what's going to lead you back into being caged in this devil energy? It's going to be different for each of you, of course. And I think this is where, it's kind of, they're not giving us the answer on that. Because, of course, it's going to be different for each of you, but this is that point of, are you going to use your tools? Are you going to take what you've integrated, what you've learned, what you've gained, what you've experienced, and really connect in with your guides, with spirit, with the divine, with your ancestors, to guide you in and it almost feels like in a new way, because in the new way is that you're fully surrendering to it, and you're fully utilizing it, even to help you start out this new chapter in a different way, so that you're not repeating a cycle. One that is balanced, and one that has this sense of trust and loyalty and comfort and steadfastness. And one that is built on the transformation that you have undergone. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope this was helpful. This was a very interesting reading. It took a turn I wasn't expecting, so I'm wishing you guys all the best. If you would like a personal, my information is in the description box below. Please be sure to like, share, comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Subscribe to the channel so you're notified when I upload again. And wishing you guys all the best, and I will be back soon.